We're now joined by the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Sello Hatang. Mr. Hatang, thank you so much indeed for joining us. Your thoughts about the sad news that South Africa received today?
Thank you very much, Peter. I think we should always start off by just conveying our deepest condolences to the family and friends of the Arch. Particularly Malaya, who must be going through a very difficult time now, having lost a friend, a companion of many years. And to Malaya, we're saying your loss is felt by all of us, but we know that you are in a deep hole at the moment, having lost the Arch. I think for us as South Africans, it's time for us to reflect, sit back, and try ask ourselves, what does this moment mean for us? What does it mean to have lost such a giant of struggle? Someone who tried his best to contribute towards healing our nation and building a more united South Africa. What does it mean? What does this moment mean for us as a people who are still struggling to build a caring nation? With a caring economy that can bring in a lot more young people. What does it mean for the youth leadership? Do we have the kind of leaders now who can give space to young people to lead? And I think it also means we need to also be reflecting on legacy. How do we preserve legacies? How do we create space for celebrating, commemorating, for looking back on a history as future as this one?
And what do you think Nelson Mandela would remember the most about the Arch?
I think his sense of humor, while trying to speak truth to power. He would also remember him for his honesty, how he would express his views to friends and foe the same way. And he would always try and convey that message in the most caring way possible, but with a message still lending that you need to find a different way of doing things. I think Madiba will most probably remember the moments they shared just after his freedom. I can just, I wish I was a fly on the wall on that evening when they were together. How much they would have laughed. How much they would have also started to think about the kind of future they want for South Africa, the morning after. How Madiba woke up wanting to get his weight. And how the Arch could have told him maybe you should relax a little bit more. But it's the same Arch who wouldn't relax, who tried to run as much as he could until he passed on. I'm a Tutu fellow, and as Tutu fellows, we remembered the Arch as someone who tried to build a new cohort of African leaders who could stand tall and try and do right, even when everybody else is going the wrong way.
They had a special relationship, didn't they, the Arch and Madiba?
Yeah, Peter, you know, one moment of that stands out for me, and I'm sure it stands out for many of the viewers out there, was when they would poke fun at each other. You remember when the Arch said, when I tried to speak to a friend, a dear friend, and I tried to tell him that how he was dressing up was wrong for a statement, and Madiba in return told the Arch, so says someone who wears a dress, a man who wears a dress. Trying to give me advice on fashion, yet you have no sense of fashion yourself. And the Arch then saying, that's a friend who then you're trying to help him because he's been in prison for so long. Maybe he has no sense of what's acceptable. out there. And I think that's the kind of relationship they enjoyed. A relationship that led them to also, for Madiba to also appoint him as the first chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, the commission that tried to reconcile us more, and which we failed to do because we still ignored some of those recommendations that came through from them.
What do you think was the Arch's impact on South Africa first, and then we'll talk about globally?
I think his greatest impact was to try and make us a united nation. His greatest impact was to try and for us to begin to see ourselves as a country that could become a rainbow nation. In many ways he succeeded, but in many more he actually failed, because we treated those moments as not as a process but as incidents. We treated them as things that happened as moments, instead of us saying we need to commit for the long haul. We are so far apart as a nation today because we haven't been able to confront our woundedness. We haven't been able to deal with the pain points, as Dr. Mandela says. We still have to confront those pain points for us to begin to move forward as a nation. Globally, he stood for justice. Who would ever forget when he tried with the elders to get into Zimbabwe? Who would forget those times when, again, he wanted the plight of the Palestinians to be looked into? Who would ever forget when he would raise an objection whenever he saw an injustice? It didn't matter who was committing that injustice, including when China was trying to bully its way to determine what the South African foreign policy should be around the Dalai Lama. And I think if we are to begin to reflect on that legacy, we should also be thinking to ourselves, what do we need to take forward there? There are some lessons that we need to be learning, and are we ready to learn them?
One also gets a sense from listening to people and what we've seen is that he was a man who, much like Madiba, acknowledged his own humanity, that he wasn't perfect but was always trying. I remember he was asked when he retired as the Archbishop of Cape Town in 1996, they asked him, do you have any regrets? And he says, the struggle tended to make one abrasive and more than a touch self-righteous. I hope that people will forgive me any hurts that I may have caused them. And again, I think a quality that one saw from Madiba coming through in Desmond Tutu as well.
And that's something that we should all try and learn. Humility comes from also admitting that we are flawed as people. Even an archbishop as great as that would then also say that he was flawed, and being abrasive made him not always seem to be humane, that he was accessible to those that he was opposed to. And I think until such time that we try and look back and ask ourselves, what can we learn from this, and how can we be better leaders? We then move forward as better people, Peter. And I think the most important thing that we should also be learning from this is how when Madiba at the height of his fame, he also admitted that he made a mistake. Remember on the voting age, when he asked that the voting age be reduced to 14, and he then admitted that he made a grave error of judgment. And this is someone who was seen as the representation of perfection. Yet he then did that. So I think if we are to do anything, is to look back at this legacy, at this time in our history, as a people and say, how can we become those people that we wish to be every day and be little Tutus, if you like, in our daily conduct.
And Sello Hatang, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much indeed for joining us tonight and sharing your thoughts and your memories of the late Arch. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.